Hello, and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve, and the game week isn't over yet, but my season may as well be. Yes, I sold Solanke on deadline day to make an early move for Nicholas Jackson, as I was fed up with Solanke's output, as he had only registered 2 shots in total for the whole month of October in the Premier League, neither of which happened to be on target. Now, of course, Solanke went on to put away 2 goals and an assist against Aston Villa this morning, which is the third time this season I've moved off an underperforming asset in a game week in which they go and get a double-digit haul. And to add salt into the wounds, Kanate went off holding his arm like it was broken at half-time. Both Palmer and Rogers are flagged. Haaland blanked, and Salah scored the winner in a come-from-behind victory against Brighton, while both Arsenal and City lost their respective matches in Game Week 10. It's been pretty brutal. Now, SoyCD99 dropped a comment on my last video this morning asking, whatever happened to holding Solanke for Ipswich? Sideways to Jackson this week was so unnecessary. Unnecessary? Well, yes, it was a totally unnecessary move. But I did, or do, still have what I think was solid reasoning behind the move, which we'll go through in today's video. Also, Pep was hinting that he was going to need to find a solution to the long list of injuries at Man City. So we'll do a very brief summary of what changed in the City lineup, which did include Rico Lewis finally getting a rest, but it was only a rest for 73 minutes, which saw him come on late in the fixture as an inverting left back, which is a position I predicted we might see him in an earlier video this season. So, help me ease the pain by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel, especially if you get any value out of the following content. Right, so Solanke out. As I mentioned in the intro, Solanke had only registered 2 shots in total, 0 of which were on target for the whole month of October in the Premier League. Now that was 90 minutes against Brighton in Game Week 7, where he had 0 shots. 90 minutes against West Ham in Game Week 8, where he registered 1 shot, not on target. Then there was 90 minutes against Crystal Palace in Game Week 9, where he only had 1 shot, which also wasn't on target. And he actually also played 90 minutes against Man City in the EFL Cup, so not a Premier League match. And he only registered 1 shot in that match as well. None of these were on target. And Spurs had Aston Villa visiting in Game Week 10, which was a fixture that I had down as being a much more difficult game than what Chelsea had, given United's dismal form had been so bad that it led to the sacking of Erik ten Hag. Now, part of the decision to sell Solanke was the fact that given his extreme lack of attacking involvement, I didn't actually think he could hurt me too badly by going early for Nicholas Jackson. Of course, Solanke went on to score 2 goals and an assist with max bonus, pulling in 16 points, which absolutely punished my team, my overall rank, and of course the move in which I made in Game Week 10. Now, I did decide to bring Jackson in. Jackson has been bang in form so far this season, getting very involved in pretty much all of the attack, with a noticeable increase in the accuracy of his shooting. He's been regularly taking much more high percentage shots, which has led him to notch up 6 goals and 3 assists so far, or heading into game week 10. Heading into game week 9, which was a total of 9 returns from 9 games against some relatively tough opposition. Now, Jackson was also top of my differential candidates for the game week 12 fixture swing, and given I was fed up with Solanke, I started to weigh up the decision of bringing Jackson in early ahead of both Manchester United and Arsenal, which isn't your typical type of move. And so I thought I should probably detail why I've gone and done that, also to answer Soy CD's question. So United have been very poor this season, and although they may pick up a bit of reinvigoration in the squad due to a bit of a new manager bounce, it is still the same set of players that haven't been clicking for a very long time. Now, United had also played a full-strength team midweek against Leicester in the EFL Cup heading into game week 10, whereas Chelsea had a full week's rest heading into the match, as they were already knocked out of the EFL Cup. Now, United were also going to have a bit of a reshuffle with Van Nistelrooy temporarily taking the reins of the team. And so a much more settled Chelsea squad that has been firing this season was a fixture that I wasn't really worried about buying into. Now, I knew that Chelsea were also coming up against Arsenal in game week 11, and that fixture is obviously going to be tough, but Arsenal's run of fixtures heading into that game aren't all that easy. Now, firstly, Arsenal did have to play Newcastle away in game week 10, which is always going to be a tough fixture, one they actually ended up losing 1-0, as it turns out. Arsenal now have Inter Milan midweek in the Champions League, which is also going to be a really tough game. It's also away from home, so they'll be travelling to San Siro in Italy midweek, before also having to travel to play Chelsea at the Bridge in game week 11. Now, Chelsea, on the other hand, only have the Europa Conference League midweek, which will likely be full of the reserve players at Chelsea. So we'll probably see Nkunku lining up in the starting lineup. Players like João Felix will probably be in there, maybe Mudryk. We'll probably see a lot of the reserve players in this Europa Conference League match midweek. And so it should also be a pretty fully rested first 11 at Chelsea that will be hosting Arsenal, which will be the third game on the trot that Arsenal will have had to play on the road in the space of a calendar week. Now, of course, this Solanke out to Nicholas Jackson move has gone about as bad as you could possibly imagine, as Jackson got himself carded, earning a solo point, with Solanke coming away with 16 points. And now looking down the barrel of Ipswich at home in game week 11, while Jackson is up against Arsenal. Now, I think I have been punished a lot more than the perceived risk that I thought I was taking on with this move. But of course, if you happen to disagree, then by all means drop me a comment on what you think about the move in the comments thread below. Probably just asking for a lot more pain than doing that, but it is what it is. Right, so on to Man City and some Game Week 10 match notes. Now, heading into the game week, Pep did say that he would need to find solutions given the lengthy injury list that City currently have, and we saw a shift in starting positions for the game against Bournemouth. Now, Rico Lewis did finally actually get a 73-minute rest, which afforded Kyle Walker a start at the weekend. Now, this did come as a bit of a surprise. Pep did mention heading into, or I think it was after the EFL Cup midweek, that he wanted to rest Rico Lewis, but they just couldn't rest him at the moment. Now, I was aware that Kyle Walker was coming back from injury and likely did have a bit of a chance of starting, but I didn't really see him starting in front of Rico Lewis, as Kyle Walker has tried to play that inverting right back role before, and it's not really one that's actually suited to his set of skills. It is something that Pep has tried out before, and it wasn't really something that worked out in the past. Now, Pep did actually play Walker as an inverting right back in the first half of this match, which is, like I said, not a role that I really think suits Kyle Walker, and did come as quite a surprise, as Pep, I do know how much Pep really values having control in the centre of the park, which is something that Rico Lewis really does offer as that inverting right back. Much more comfortable on the ball, lots of short little movements and dynamic play, something that Rico Lewis just laps up, but it's not really something that Kyle Walker is really known for. Now, this was short-lived, as Walker was moved back out to his usual high wide position in the second half, so operating much more like a wing back that was just out there holding the width. Now, that shifted Foden back to his central position, as he had been playing an atypical right wing position in that first 45 minutes. Now, I did say in the video last week that I did think if there was Foden, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, and KDB all on the pitch, that I thought Bernardo Silva would be the most likely man to go out to right wing, as opposed to Foden, as Foden has been playing the majority of his minutes in those central roles. But it was actually Foden that was shifted out to that right wing in the first half. But of course, I think this was kind of a domino effect from having to play Walker as that inverting right back role. And when he switched it up at half time, putting Walker as a much more of a wing back, that allowed Foden to go back into his central position, where I think he is much more preferred. Now, Rico Lewis did come on in the 73rd minute for Nathan Ake, when City were already down 2-0 against Bournemouth. And when I saw the substitution, my immediate thought was, well, that probably means that you'll have Gvardiol as left centre-back, Akanji as the centre-back, Kyle Walker as the right centre-back, and then Rico Lewis going to his normal right-back, inverting right-back role. But what actually happened is he came on at left-back and was inverting on the left-hand side, which is the position that I did predict maybe about 3 game weeks ago now, where I thought Gvardiol was due a rest, and I thought Rico Lewis might be slotted in as an inverting left back in order to give Gvardiol a bit of a break. As it turns out, that did transpire, just wasn't for Gvardiol, it was actually for Nathan Ake. Now, KDB was also back on the bench, but he was left completely unused, indicating that Pep is hesitant to rush him back into the squad. Now, that will throw a little bit of a cat amongst the pigeons when we see KDB actually get some minutes. He will probably be eased back into the squad off the bench with a few maybe 15 to 20-minute appearances at the end of some fixtures. But the fact that he was actually listed on the bench means that he probably was fit enough to make it onto the pitch if they desperately needed him. Now, they were losing the game 2-0, and so when you're looking for a goal, you would assume that KDB would be the type of player that would be brought onto the pitch, but because he wasn't, it does look like he will be worked back into the Man City squad probably quite slowly. Now, of course, in the same match, both Foden and Haaland had their chances to return in this game, but it just wasn't to be. I mean, even Foden was setting up Haaland for a couple of attempts. I mean, there was one, I think it was late in the second half, where Foden clipped the ball across to Haaland, got his head onto it, forced a great save from the keeper. The keeper did baff it back out into the danger area, which went straight back to Haaland. And instead of wrapping his foot around it and putting it in the back of the net, he actually hit it off the upright of the post and went out. By that point, I was like, oh, this is just done. This week is just horrible. I mean, the whole team blanked apart from Rodgers, who did end up coming off early and is now flagged heading into game week 11. Palmer's flagged. Kanate might have a broken arm. I mean, he was walking along as if he'd wrapped his arm up in his shirt, looking like he was nursing it, which looks very similar to how you hold your arm when you've got some sort of fracture or a broken bone or something like that. So we'll have to wait for information on that. I mean, I wasn't expecting a hell of a lot out of either the Liverpool defense or the Arsenal defense this game week, which was something that I have been talking about. I'm holding on to Arsenal defense for that fixture run that starts in game week 12, knowing that these next couple of games are going to be tough. I held on to Pedro Porro, who came away with 1 point. I mean, it's just all gone tits up. Now, I do still have Emil Smith-Rowe and Mbumo playing each other in tonight's fixture. And I do need both of them probably to come away with about a brace each to have any sort of hope of a green arrow this week. Anyway, I'm going to go and blow off some steam by digging some roots out of the garden, or potentially even hitting a 4-kilometer hill run or something to clear my mind. But I will be back on Wednesday with some ideas about what the next steps might be for my team. Now, don't forget that the European fixtures are midweek this week, so hold fire on any early transfers. But all right, well, that wraps up this video. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us a comment to tell us what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.